Alright fellas, it is that time of the month once again where I have to inform you on the upcoming goings-on and events over here on the NA version of the game. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming events for the month of February, which, if you're an older, more veteran player, this is probably going to be a very hit or miss month for you, especially if you're not all that excited for Valentine's. But if you're at least excited for Valentine's, you have that and the advanced quest towards the end of the month. If you're a newer player, this is going to be a very awesome month for you. With Seraph now being free to all players, we should be getting that this month as well. So it's going to be very good for my newer players, and Valentine's is a great event. I think it's always very fun to experience as a newer player. But if you're an older player, it might be a little bit hit or miss. And that's kind of just the reality of the beginning of the year for FGO. It can't all be straight bangers, as FGO really seems to ramp up towards the middle of the year, where we usually get a really hype story chapter, or we get some really hype collab event. Then that leads into anniversary, which is usually pretty hype. Then that goes into summer. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we also get a hype event after summer, but that can also be a little bit hit or miss. But we're going to talk about all that and more in today's video. I'm going to break it all down for you to make sure that you are informed and know what to be looking out for this coming month. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content, as your boy's going to make sure that you are entertained and informed on the goings-on on both versions of the game. But with that being said, let's talk about the first major thing we should be getting for the month of February, and that is the Valentine's event. As I'm sure you've already seen, we have the pre-release campaign already underway. We also have a live stream confirmed for the 31st. Now, do I think we're going to be getting any NA exclusives or NA first? Probably not. It's probably just going to be a breakdown of the event. But the event itself is pretty fun, nothing too offensive. Obviously, it brings out Bizette as the headlining unit, who is a counter unit. It's the first of her kind, where essentially after she fires her NP, she taunts herself. All enemies have to attack her, and then she counterattacks with like an NP level counterattack, if that kind of makes sense. So you're doing big damage back to them. It's really fun to use if you want to go into challenge quests, because you're kind of just smacking them all over the place. Funny enough, if you're really dedicated, you can use this for farming, because you can pop the NP and then all the enemies will attack Bizette, and if she's strong enough, she'll actually just counterattack and take them all out. Not the most conventional way to go about it, but it is a very funny way to go about farming if that is your prerogative. It's also going to bring back a lot of the old Valentine's units, as we already have right now. That should kind of bleed into this event, but it's also going to bring out all the non-limited female servants as well. So think of like your Lancer Artorias, your Quetzalcoatls, your normal Artorias, stuff along those lines, as we kind of have that happen every single Valentine's event. If they're story locked or they're not limited, they're probably going to go back on raid up alongside Bizette. So if you're looking for any one of these wifeys, you might have a chance to get them. We'll also be getting a buff for Karen. This is something that, when she dropped last year, we were like, she's strong, but she's kind of missing something. This gives her a nice little buff, as she's going to be getting a power mod against chaotic aligned enemies to give her just that little bit of extra damage. And again, as an AoE unit, you're probably going to be using her for farming, and that's going to help her out just a little bit more. But hey, if you also want to bring her to challenge quest, which I think she's really good, and I think her kit is clearly more designed to be challenge quest oriented, but everybody wants to take an AoE NP servant to every farming content, so I understand that. But try to bring her to more difficult missions as we start to get advanced quests. She can really tear those up, and the chaotic alignment is a pretty decent power mod for her to have. There's also going to be point rewards for this event. There is a 3 million point ladder, which is going to give you all types of goodies. Make sure you do this, because you're going to get chocolates from this point reward that allows you to exchange for your servant's Valentine CEs. And why that's important is because if you're a real monster, right, you can take those CEs and effectively use them as CE bombs, because they are max leveled CEs. And if you want to level up, say, a Maxima broken, I don't know, aerial drive that we just had return, recently on NA, maybe a Maxima broke the Honey Lake CE, and you want to get those extra bonus stats, because keep in mind, you get the Valentine CEs back every single year, and there's no repercussions for doing this. If you want to use them as CE bombs, they are very, very effective for doing that, and I do it every single year, because one, I get to re-look at the Valentine scenes every year, and I think that's super baller, but two, I also get to level up a couple of CEs here and there. So if you want to be a monster and your conscience isn't too, strained on your servants and your wifeys, you could go ahead and do that, because you'll get it back next year anyway. Karen should also get a raid up coming back after the event is kind of started. It should happen a little bit after the Bazette banner goes live, so do keep in mind that while you don't see Karen on rate up right now alongside the other recurring Valentine's units that we have for the pre-release campaign, she could come back about like a week after the event starts. Following that, you should get a little bit of Saint Quartz, as JP did get their 2400 days anniversary, so I'm assuming we'll also get something very similar. Probably going to be about 10 Saint Quartz. Nothing too major, but hey, free Saint Quartz is free Saint Quartz. We'll then also move into a White Day pre-release campaign, which I know not too many people are really going to care about because, you know, it brings the Amakusa command code back into the shop. You are able to exchange for one of the portrait CEs as well if you have 3 rare mana prisms. But the most important thing, you know, aside from all this nonsense, is that Seraph is going to be available as a free main interlude for all players, which is absolutely insane. If you're a newer player, this is going to be very, very sweet for you. If you are an older player, you will get your 5 rare mana prisms, you know, refunded, and you can use this for, I don't know, a lore or something, or save them for some other CE that you maybe want to pick up, because they do occasionally throw CEs in there that you're able to, you know, buy and get. So you could use it for one of those or just save them, but this is going to be very nice as it also does come with the banner bringing back Melt, King Protea, Passion Lip, and Suzuka. Melt being the highlight unit in my opinion, as Melt is still absolutely goated to this day. You know, I could definitely see people going and summoning for this unit. I'm not going to tell you to avoid the banner because, look, even if you don't get Melt, you go for King Protea. King Protea's got that whole Barghest Summer Sith type vibe where really, outside of being one-shot by the enemy, it's really hard for them to be down, you know, especially once they start stacking. King Protea, in particular, as she just starts stacking max HP and NP resistance, so she could just start face-tanking NPs, a very good solution if you're struggling with some bosses and you can't really do it with whatever team comp you have in your box. King Protea might just be able to brute force it, for lack of a better term. Although the brute force is going to take you quite a few turns, as she's just going to get very thick and then just kind of face tank everything. Meld, on the other hand, is going to just eviscerate the boss. It's kind of 2 halves of the same coin. They're both going to destroy the boss for you, but Meld is going to try to blitz and obliterate them. King Protea is going to be there for the long haul. Now, if you're worried about anything in Seraph being too particularly hard, if you are a new player and you're like, is there a boss I really have to worry about? Realistically, the only thing you should be keeping your eye out for in Seraph is the very end boss, the Kiara fight, as a lot of the other fights, say the Melt boss fight, the Passionate boss fight, the Emiya Altar boss fight, a lot of these things have kind of been power crept at this point. If you're able to beat current story bosses, and God forbid, you know, you've beaten, I would say, Lost Belt 1 and on, you're definitely going to be fine in taking these on. They're, you know, more tailored to Epic of Remnant style bosses. So think of your Shinjukus, your Agarthas, Shimosa, Salem. It's supposed to release alongside those as part of Chapter 1.5. So as long as you can take on that stuff, you should be fine. Kiara is the only thing that you can kind of challenge yourself on, as you can fight her as many times as you want, and you'll get these Kiara Punisher points, so you can kind of modulate the boss fight. You could try to fight her at her absolute strongest, and, you know, I wish you good luck on that one. You're going to be there for like 2 hours. Or you can make the fight really, really easy, and you can completely nerf all of her abilities and then give her a bunch of debuffs as well, and just kind of, you know, get through the fight fairly easily, as the Kiara in the boss fight does not have the Pierce Invul Pierce defense on her NP for some reason. Every time I go in there to do it for, you know, showcase some unit, I'm always expecting to get, you know, Pierce Invul and obliterated, and it never happens. I guess that might have been a little too hard for Epic of Remnant, but we also had Shiro Amakusa, who yeeted all of your buffs, so I don't know why they went a little bit lighter on that. But you can also kind of meet Kiara halfway and get, for maybe a more lore-accurate battle, quote-unquote, you can remove a lot of her buffs, but don't apply any of the debuffs if you want to kind of give yourself a challenge. And don't worry, if you just want to get the clear and you just want to go in and remove all of her buffs, give her all the debuffs, and beat her up, you're able to challenge it as much as you want, and the BB shop over there will allow you to continuously move the debuffs and buffs around. So if you do want to go in for, like, just, I don't know, it's not even that much QP to kind of recycle all the buffs. If you do want to go back in and do that, you're able to do that. There is also a King Protea boss fight that is pretty difficult that I will warn you guys about. It is one of those fights that you're going to be in there for the long haul. You have to wait like 20-something turns. You got to survive out there for her to lose all of her buffs. Then you get a turn, you get this advantage to actually do some damage. Then you got to live a couple of extra turns, and she loses more resistance. And it's a very, very long grind game boss fight. You know, all that I was talking about a King Protea being in there for the long haul, you're now going to be in there for the long haul. But you do get a lore out of it, so it is technically worth it. But I don't know, hop in a VC call with the boys, put on a ZTL stream, do something, because you're going to be in there for a fat minute, and make sure you got something else to do, because it's quite a doozy. But then finally, after the Seraph, event comes back around, we're going to get our second advance quest. This is still part of the time when they were really giving these very consistently. As right now on JP, we just got our recent one after getting the last one in June, so they are going to take a break after a bit. But this next one is not all that difficult either. It's 3 Berserker skeletons. You could read on the wiki all the things that they do. You could see that, oh, they have all these attack and crit damage buffs, and they have different resistances to different buster cards. Or you could just obliterate them. You could kind of just one-tap them because their HP's not all that high. They have about 200,000 HP each. And again, they're Berserkers. You could probably just go in there, beat them up, and go about your day. Which is all the more incentive for you to go and do these. I made a video about the first advanced quest. Make sure you stay on top of these. You do not want these to build up like old homework assignments because then they will overwhelm you and it will not be fun. Let me assure you of that. Make sure you're getting these done. They are a huge help if you have to go farm free quests, which I know everybody says, I'm never going to go farm free quests. Me, I'm never going to do that. But trust me, you're going to get a servant at some point that you want to use, and you're going to find out that for some reason they need dust or bones or hero proofs, and you're going to magically find out that they need like 200 and you've only got 150. You're going to have a bit of grinding to do, and these help out dramatically in getting your drop rate when going into free quests. They are super, super nice if you need to go and farm any type of material. Especially now that we can max limit break them so you can get them to 25% bonus, plus still bring your bond CEs and everything. That's very nice when we start getting to that point as well. So make sure you do it. Don't make me come after you. And with that being said, that's pretty much everything for the month of February. I do not believe I missed anything. And the only difference could be if Lysenko wants to give us, a bonus banner or something, which they might do. I would maybe expect that they would throw like a Kiara banner our way, a part of the Seraph login. Because, Lysenko likes to do that. We're getting some new event, and they're like, oh, well, we threw these characters over here, but what if we gave you a bonus banner? Which, I don't mind. Make the limited servants more accessible, so if your favorite servant is Kiara, you don't have to wait God knows how long for her to come back, and you can just summon for her as soon as Seraph comes out. I don't think Summer BB will be getting her rerun, because she should be getting one for the actual Holy Grail front for the Seraph event that we're going to be getting in about 1 or 2 months from now. So expect maybe Kiara to get an extra rate up, but Summer BB's probably just going to still stick to her Holy Grail front thing that we're going to be getting later. So with all that being said, let me know what you're looking forward to for the month of February. Are you going to be summoning on any of these banners? There's some pretty strong ones. Bazette is a very fun unit to use. Not the craziest, but it's definitely very fun. Melt is very strong. King Porte is very strong in her own right. And then obviously we have all of these story locked and non-limited wifeys coming back, which, I mean, Tamamo definitely stands out to me as one of those servants that I think is very strong and worth going for if you want her. I mean, you also got people like Sanzo on there, who is always just very helpful with an 80% battery and being able to do some pretty solid damage. So let me know if you're going to be looking out for any of these guys. I feel really bad for anybody that was going to summon for Artoria on a banner like this, and then on JP they whip around and are like, nope, never mind, she's free, so I guess you don't have to worry about that. But for real this time, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late, guys.